I know, and that's supposed to include Eastern Europeans.
Well, if it does, then that's what we do.
Okay, so can I please take that as an action to check if actually Eastern Europeans are part of the data collection?
Yeah, I can take that one away.
Carrying on from that point has just been raised, I'm interested to understand your recruitment process, whether you actually do redact characteristics, for example, name blind or age blind recruitment process. Sorry, name blind or age blind recruitment process, around the key characteristics.
Yes, we do. Yes. Again, we follow national policies for recruitment in the NHS. We also have people with expertise on the panels. I can't remember what this recruitment inclusion specialists who sit on all the panels. They sit on senior panels, and we're making sure that they sit on band 7 and below panels as well. So they're people who are specially trained to make sure that we're being equitable in our recruitment practices.
I just want to start by saying I realise how incredibly difficult it is to run St George's. And it is a big challenge. But obviously, I want to ask again. I'm sorry to mention the financial update, but it also seemed a little bit random, some of the stuff that was on there, rather than sort of focused on whether it's the cost improvement plan or what was specific to the maternity services and what that would save. And I think what an ask for me is, because St George's have struggled for such a long time, particularly more so than some of the other hospitals, because even if you look at Bart's, the underlying, they've actually sorted a lot of it out, and it's really the debt that's causing them a problem, that they've created centres of excellence. I can't see in your numbers, I went looking back almost 20 years at the numbers, and I cannot see that strategic transformation that other hospitals have undertaken. It's not evident in the numbers. And I think that's where I don't really understand what is the difference with St George's. Why is it you can have Barts that's, arguably got, communities that are even, more deprived around it, that can turn itself around, whereas St George's is still struggling for a period of at least 15 years. So I think my ask in this is, I think we would all benefit from a little bit more financial clarity as to what is happening at St George's. Your staff costs have risen once again. Is that regulation? Is that wages? Is that where is that? Is that in administration? Is that in doctors? And I think this would be really helpful to understand, to try and help as well, and say, are costs being spent in the right way? Or is it medical negligence? Or is it that we're having to pay out for people that don't live here and then fly off? They come on holiday, use our services, fly off, which is, at least 5 million quid there that we lose in that type of thing. So I think for us, just to make sure public funds are used better, I think financial clarity, I'm not saying massive in-depth of it, would be really helpful to try and understand why is it other hospitals are starting to make changes. And I know not all of them are, but some of the big ones are.
Yeah, really happy to provide more information on that as well. So just a few things. One, St George's is in financial special measures prior to COVID. It just came out of financial special measures just as COVID started, and then tipped into COVID. South West London is one of the most financially challenged systems. It is the most financially challenged system in London. It's structurally considered not to be affordable in its current configuration. And St George's contributes to that, but we all have an equivalent savings plan to deliver. I have to say Barts is also on it's reliant on having funding put in from the government to sort of balance at the end of the year. So I've not worked at George's for an enormous amount of time, and I can compare it with an organisation I worked before. It doesn't feel like it's got loads of resources, if I'm completely honest with you. However, I go back to everything. There has been growth since COVID, and we're not alone in that, but and it's across a number of areas. Wages have absolutely gone up. We don't get funded for inflation. So there's that side of things, which obviously we're nationally mandated around that. So we don't, We don't do things that, we stick with the NHS terms and conditions. There has been growth, and we've certainly seen growth in doctors, consultants particularly. And nursing is, I think across all areas of which we're working our way through. But I'd say we're on a sort of similar path to other organisations within South West London, and there's a strategic piece of work being done in South West London to look at how we can ensure the system is affordable going forward. But happy to, obviously we've got an enormous amount of information showing how the deficit's built up, why it's built up, and what we're doing about it. So really happy again to come back with more, or to provide a more detailed reporting across a number of these areas.
Thank you very much. No, but if you've got one last question, it has to be quick.
It is a quick one. On page, I think it's 4, it's in fact, Councillor Cox has kind of brought me to that, because on the financial update, it says the trust is on plan for 15.1 million at month 6. What does that mean?
It's a deficit year to date. No, it's not helpful. I agree. Yeah. But we are on track in terms of delivering our plan at the end of the year, as at now as well. So it will be to deliver a deficit.
Right. Again, in local government, if you have a deficit, you get commissioners coming in and taking over.
It does work a bit differently in the NHS, but I appreciate what you're saying.
And ask, how many poor CQC reports have there been in the last few years? Could you give us again, if you're coming back, a summary of the reports that you've received and the ratings that you've got, without the kind of spin? Just how did they assess that particular aspect of the hospital's work, please?
Yes, so we're not regularly. So I think the last time we were CQC assessed was 2016 or 18. Do you know? No, when we were.
Done.
It had so maternity only maternities had 2 assessments, and then we've actually moved it from inadequate to requires improvement, which I know is not good enough, but it's a shift in the right direction. The overall CQC rating 6 years ago, when we were last rated, was requires improvement, and so that remains the same.
But leadership requires improvement.
Yes.
Okay, when's the next one?
We don't know. It won't be for a while. They usually happen about every 5-6 years. There's full inspections, but yeah, I think it's something like that, isn't it?
Anybody else for question? No. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you for coming. Thank you for giving us what answers you could give us. We'll be very happy if you can send us a report, the full report, so we can actually see what's in it, and we hope to see you again for the next grilling, if that's okay. All right, thank you very much. We'll let you go. You're free to go. Thank you. Move on to the budget now. Well, can we have our cabinet member who start off with the report, and then our finance director will carry on, then John will come after that. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair, and thank you for inviting me to speak. And very, very pleased to see that you were flexible in allowing St George's team to go first. They're external people, and they have a big job to do, as we see. Now, this November round sees round 1 of the budget scrutiny, and unlike many boroughs, we also have a second round of scrutiny in the new year, and we're very proud of that. Now, our budget is dedicated to supporting, enabling the delivery of Merton's vision, and in particular our 3 strategic priorities. That's nurturing civic pride, building a sustainable future, and creating a borough of sport. And we face a challenging environment, as you all know, higher expectations from our residents and our customers, and a growing demand for our services like adult social care. And this is coupled, as we all know, with a constrained local government finance throughout the whole of the UK. But we will persevere with providing an excellent service wherever we can in ASC and in health services for older people in particular, and that's the subject tonight. And let's remind ourselves that Scrutiny is all party and non-party, and in that spirit I want to thank all councillors on Scrutiny and my cabinet colleagues here tonight. Thanks also due to Assad, the finance director, who speak after me, and his team and all officers, especially those who looked into ensuring our qualities impact assessments are robust and spot on. And finally, I want to thank the Scrutiny officers and the Democratic Services team for their help in tonight's arrangements. Thank you, and I'll hand over to Assad.
Thank you, Councillor. So, as Councillor Ambridge said, this is the first round of 2 rounds of budget scrutiny. This is the second panel of 4 that we have as part of each of those rounds, with children and ONS to come next week. So the report presents the updated MTFS gap, as well as the savings that are being presented, including those in adult social care, for consideration today. Overall, there's £6 million worth of savings, leaving still a further gap of £5.3 million to find, which will hopefully have an update in the January Cabinet report and coming to scrutiny. Financial pressures do not subside, not just here in Merton, but across London. Although there is strong financial management grip within services like adult social care, that doesn't mean the challenges don't exist, and the pressures the teams face to keep that in check is significant, and that is replicated across London. Temporary accommodation in particular for this authority is also acute. Again, across London, we are seeing a significant impact on overspends in temporary accommodation being one of the main factors. And of course, with us, we also have pressures around our DSG, again, replicated nationally and across London. So we do have further savings to find. The next big events in terms of our settlement. So we will have the national budget next Wednesday. We've had a policy statement on the settlement published today. So we'll be unpacking that and understand what that means. But the real star of the show really in finance, in local government, is the settlement, which just lands before Christmas. Our finance teams will cancel their turkey and we'll spend time analysing what those numbers mean for Merton Council, and we'll be back in January with an update for members. One of the positive announcements I can bring is we are moving towards a 3-year settlement, which will allow us to plan on a more firm footing than we've probably had over the last 4 or 5 years when we've had a succession of 1-year settlements. There is a significant amount done through the fair funding review consultation. Lots of detail is in the report, and I won't go through all of that, but the fair funding review is looking at changing local authority allocations and the basis of those in terms of consolidation of funding pots and measuring differences in demand of services and cost of delivery. There is an element of redistribution of resources across councils and across the country, and there is a review of business rates retention and how that currently works. So obviously these are some risks for Merton and could end up with us receiving a lower share of funding. In particular, the deprivation formula is something we've lobbied hard on. It seems that there is a change to the deprivation basis in the settlement coming in December, with the impact of housing cost being incorporated, but we wait to see the detail. There is a detailed response of Merton included, and we also supported the London Council's consultation as well. So that's all I was going to introduce, Chair. Thank you.
John.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, members. So I'm here this evening to present the department's savings proposals. We've developed these with a clear purpose, which is to promote independence, simplify the system that we work in, and make the best use of our resources, while also really importantly improving outcomes for residents. We work hard on our savings programs every year to limit any impact and to design them that we better provide our services and fulfil our statutory duties. These savings are about transforming how support is provided, helping people live independently for longer, using innovation, smarter commissioning, and better alignment and working with our health partners. Each proposal focuses on reducing dependency, preventing escalation, and ensuring that the system is easier for residents to navigate and for our staff to deliver our services. Together, these changes strengthen sustainability while upholding our Care Act duties and values of choice, control, and well-being. I'll take you through each of our savings. The chair and co-chair have asked that I go through each of them, and then we can have questions at the end. The first saving in your pack is maximising independence through supported living. This proposal focuses on reshaping our supported accommodation to better meet the evolving needs of people with learning disabilities, mental health needs, and older adults. We'll review current provision, compare it to local need, and realign services to give residents greater independence and control. This means fewer placements in institutional settings and more people living in suitable community-based accommodation with the correct level of support. It also links directly with the Care Act duties to keep people closer to home, ensuring that people live independently as possible for as long as possible. Saving 2 is using predictive technology to manage demand. AI is advancing at unprecedented rates, and what it can do is also advancing. This proposal involves extending our use of smart and predictive technology, including AI tools to identify risks earlier, such as falls or infections, and to target preventative support, prevent or delay the issues, and thus prevent hospital admission and the need for care. This will help people to remain independent at home, reduce avoidable hospital admissions and need for care, and ensure that our resources are focused where they make the greatest difference. It's a proactive, modern approach to managing increasing and more complex demand, while enabling us to fulfill our statutory duties effectively and support our most vulnerable residents in a smarter, data-driven way. The next one is reviewing Section 117 aftercare. This proposal ensures that people who have received care under the Mental Health Act continue to get the right level of support, no more, no less, in line with legislation and individual need. Through targeted joint reviews with health partners, we'll confirm eligibility, promote independence, and identify opportunities for more appropriate community support or funding where relevant. It's about maintaining fairness, supporting someone's recovery by ensuring health and care work closely together, and make sure our resources are used appropriately in partnership with the NHS. Number 4 in your pack is streamlining the financial assessment processes. We know that delays in financial assessments can cause frustration for residents and lost income for the council. This proposal introduces digital self-assessment tools, automated workflows, and earlier engagement with residents, making the process faster, clearer, and more accurate. By integrating finance and care systems, we will improve the residents' experience, ensuring fairness and financial sustainability go hand in hand. Number 5, transforming commissioning in adult social care. This proposal is about reshaping how we commission services, moving from a transactional model to one that's data-led, partnership-driven, and outcomes-focused. Our data is now at such a level that we are able to model and predict much better what we will need in the future. We'll strengthen collaboration with the NHS, voluntary sector, and local providers, ensuring contracts deliver quality and value and enable innovation through flexible place-based commissioning models. In essence, this transformation will allow us to commission services that are both more efficient and more personalised, delivering better outcomes for our residents and a more sustainable market for the future. The final saving in your pack, finally, we're expanding the use of direct payments, a key Care Act mechanism for promoting independence and personal choice. By empowering more residents to choose and arrange their own care, we'll create a more flexible, responsive system that reflects individual need rather than a one-size-fits-all model. This also presents better value for money, supporting people to live the lives they want while reducing unnecessary dependence on traditional commission services. So in closing, taking together, these 6 proposals form a single coherent programme to help with promoting independence, reducing bureaucracy, working better with our health partners, embracing innovation, and ensuring sustainability for the future. Now, it's over to you if you have any questions that you would like to ask me and my team. We're all here.
Thank you. So it's lovely.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to the officers and cabinet member. I've got one kind of general questions under the MTFS report. Actually, I've got 2 questions. Under the MTFS report, how confident are you that the savings highlighted in the report will be actually delivered? And my second question is for supported living. Does the approach actually in the supported living align with the NHS 10-year plan? And how do we shift the care from hospitals into the community? Thank you.
Did you want more questions or did you want to answer that?
Do you want me to answer that one and Assad can come in if he's got anything to say? Is that okay? So the first one is about the department's ability to achieve its savings. The department has a proven track record of managing its finances well. We're on track to deliver 94% of our savings this year, and we're also predicting a small underspend at end of financial year. All of our savings are audited by Assad's financial assessment team. The team check them for viability, check the numbers that we've used, so they are all audited by the finance team. Anything you'd like to answer on that one, Assad?
No, comprehensive.
So with regards to the second question that the councillor asked about supported living, yes, it clearly keeping people out of institutionalized care, closer to their own communities, in their own homes and out of hospitals, fits very well with the 10-year plan, where there's a shift of people, a shift towards prevention and local joined up services with the NHS, social care and our local partners. So this and many of the other savings fit very well in the 10-year plan, which is why throughout my presentation, I've spoken quite a lot about joint working with the NHS, joint commissioning with the NHS, really working much closer together to deliver better outcomes for our residents.
If Peter wants to say something about that.
On the issue of, how can we have confidence? I think in the many years, and some of you won't believe this, that I've been a councillor for 40 years, and I've been involved with what was social services and is now adult social care for all that time. And there have been times where, we've had to do some really difficult things, and I've been troubled by having to make such decisions. Since I've been doing this role, one of the things we did was with the senior officers, we were asking them how long they'd worked in adult social care. And when we'd gone over 100 years experience, I thought, well, you know, that's an experienced bunch. And John is right. I mean, they've come up with savings which are not even, last year I said benign, but then, you know, I mean by that they're not going to hurt people, but actually they're even better because they are working smarter, giving people independence, doing things that will save money but actually make life better for the people that we're here to serve. And so I am very confident. John and I and the whole leadership team share one key interest, and that is managing public money. And we all care about it. We monitor it. We last year we delivered, and I think there were 4 or 5 boroughs in London that actually managed to come in under budget. We were one, and this year John has said that we're achieving 94%, and we are currently running under budget. And I think that's very much to the credit of the team that we've got. And so I am really confident that if they say they're going to do something, they do it, and the record speaks for itself.
Peter, Ellie.
Great. So just 2 points I wanted to ask you about, John. And look, I'm very much for independent living, but one thing that wasn't, of course, mentioned, which I know like the back of my hand, is that actually there's a huge cost saving for the council to keep people out of care homes. And it could play out for a wonderful panorama programme if we are found to keep people out of care homes who need to be in care homes. And I don't know residents here in Merton, but I have heard of it already in other boroughs where people with severe dementia are being given twice a day supported living, and you know, people having accidents as a result. And I think it's very important that I always realise there's got to be a financial line, but we haven't mentioned at all in that actually, you know, a good driver of that is saving money. And I do understand the need to do that, but we also need to make sure that people genuinely are safe, and this constant drive for saving money, particularly older people, because older people have tended, you know, if they had an accident, it's tended to not be covered by the news, where if a child did, it's of course covered by the news. And I feel very protective of our older generation, that it's not just a question of they don't want to be in a care home. Some need to be in a care home. And we need to make sure that they are safe, and that this is, you know, imperative, and that we are checking that actually we're not pushing budgets ahead of safety. And my second point is about direct payments, which again sounds wonderful, but I'm sure, of course, there will also be a wonderful cost saving attributed to this, potentially. And I don't know how it works. I'd love to hear more about it, whether it's capped at a certain amount, whether people are responsible enough to actually use that money for care, or whether, because it's about financial responsibility, and some of these people be vulnerable and may spend it, you know, on food or other things that they might need, and it may not help their care. So I just wanted, you know, you do a wonderful job, John, and I'm certainly not knocking you, but I wanted to just come in and do a proper job of scrutiny and ask these points.
I actually think, I mean, I'll go through each of the points, and if any of my team want to come in as well, let me know, because I can't see them. So the first one, it's a very good point about care home. This is not about stopping people that need a 24-hour residential or nursing home from receiving that care. But I'll take you back as the statutory director of adult social care in the borough. My statutory duties come from the Care Act. One of my first statutory duties is to prevent, reduce, or delay need, keep people in their homes when possible for as long as possible. My statutory returns on the data, I am benchmarked against my peers and against London at the level of people that I place in care. And there's a reason for that. The outcomes for people that go to a residential and nursing home are not as good as the outcomes for people living in their own homes in a supported accommodation. So I can assure you, Councillor Cox, this is not about stopping those people that need residential and nursing care. My teams are placing people in residential and nursing care every day. We're doing it on a daily basis, but it is not it is not suitable for those people that can stay at home. And this proposal is about strengthening our supported living market so that people don't have to go to residential care because there's nothing else out there for them. Does that answer your question, Councillor Cox?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you very much.
The second one about DP, it's a good question. So again, I'll go back to the Care Act. I have a statutory duty to provide and deliver direct payments for people. What a direct payment is, rather than the council directly commissioning the home care package, so we commission the times, work with the resident in their support plan, but we provide the carers. The carers go at the times that resident wants. From that same support plan, we give them the money to deliver their own care package. There is a cost difference in there. It is actually cheaper. It's £26 an hour for a home care package. For a direct payments package, it's £22 an hour. However, again, I'll go back to the outcomes. The outcomes for people that receive a direct payment, people are happier. They feel more in control of their care package. They're able to say to their carer, oh, I don't need the care today. I don't need it tomorrow. My daughter's going to have the care. They then don't pay for that care and the money is there to use something else within their care package. There is a lot of support behind direct payments. People have a prepaid card. The money is loaded onto the prepaid card and we monitor every aspect of the spend to ensure that it is spent on the support plan. Maybe Terry would like to come in and say something about that because this is his area. Terry?
Thanks, John. I think you've covered it. There are a team of staff that monitor, review and audit the spend that residents have on their cards, and discussions are had with people if there are spend that we're not expecting to see on there, and then conversations with their social worker take place. So there is a very, very robust process. Yes. Yeah. And if it is spent on something else, obviously we have the conversations with them around that.
Tony.
Thank you, Chair. So I'd like to prod a slightly different area, if I may. And first to acknowledge, it's a very challenging area that you're working in, this team. I'm impressed to hear that you're able to generate these savings, whilst at the same time, in many cases, claiming you're going to be improving outcomes. The area I want to prod is the use of predictive technology. And it's a bit of a round figure, 500,000. Calculated or guessed comes to mind as a question. And then the text doesn't really explain how. And I think a number of the other councillors are wondering about this as well, how the savings are going to be made. So that's another general question. But most fundamentally, I would have thought this was an area to invest in. I'd be spending more money, I would think, on AI to generate new systems and processes. The amount of savings you could generate from the fast developing use of predictive technology might be an area I'd want to spend more on to generate the savings down the line. So those are my areas of questioning.
It's a very good question. I'll answer part of it, and I can take Claire and Terry in for part of it as well. So we are already in the process of developing AI within the department. One of those is a technology called Smart Notes, and we're working with the Access Group and Microsoft to deliver this for our staff. And what this one is about, it is about helping our staff spend more time with our residents and not spending half of their time writing up assessments. Smart notes will enable them to speak to a resident, to do their assessment, but the technology will capture those conversations and directly put them into our into our database. This isn't about reducing care. This will, reducing staff, but this will enable our staff to work with the rising demand of cases that we have, to deal with our reviews, to target our reviews, to really work more with our residents. The specific question about the saving, we will be investing. All of the AI we need to invest in, and we're working with Assad's IT team on this. I mean, I can give you the example that we're in discussions with the NHS about, and about commissioning a tool for. If I'll give the example, elderly lady has a UTI, has a fall, goes into hospital, sits in the A&E for a few hours, admitted to a bed. All of that is a cost. Ambulance, A&E, hospital. But ultimately for that lady, the outcomes are not as good. She will likely leave hospital with a care package provided by the local authority or private care package. That's a cost. And we will provide a reablement care package to her, but we might not be able to get her back on her feet. AI can actually use our data, look at our health data, look at adult social care data, and actually predict that that lady in 6 months' time is going to have a fall or a UTI based on our history, based on our data. And this proposal is about working with the NHS so that we can actually start working with the lady earlier, getting the medication, getting the pharmacist to review the medication, getting a physio in and an occupational therapist in. That's a better outcome for the lady because she won't go to the hospital. She won't go into that vicious cycle coming out with a care package, and she'll be able to stay at home independently. And we've provided a preventative service. Terry or Claire, is there anything you'd like to add to that one?
Yes, thank you. I think it's really important that we say that we are investing in some of this AI technology.
You're investing less, is what I'm saying.
We're actually investing
You're
more.
cutting the investment.
No, we're actually we're not. We're actually investing more. Like one example of that is a monitoring technology that we're looking to develop and buy in and spending some money on, as John said, with Assad's team, to look at monitoring within the home to tell us more about activities of people in the home. A little bit what you were saying about people that are wandering in the home or people that live alone. We're able to monitor the environment to see what's actually going on in the home and see how they're doing within the home. This will give us the intelligence to be able to support that person in the community much better going forward, for therefore being able to predict what kind of support that person needs going forward. So this proposal of saving is actually an invest to save. We will, by doing this intelligence and putting in this technology, we will then be able to predict a saving and work better with these people in the community.
And the saving is about spending less on care. We have actually built in that we'll have to buy the AI technology. So that is, there will be an investment in AI. And AI is advancing so fast that it's something that we're looking at all the time. Through Assad's team, Assad's commissioned a specialist company to come in and work with every single one of the departments to look at what's out there in the market now and in the future. So we have to move with that technology, and it is moving fast. Does that answer your question, Councillor?
Thank you.
Thank you, John. This one is a little bit more nuanced about the the direct payments, and just to raise a point about national insurance and the national minimum wage, which increased. I wondered if that has actually been taken into account in the contract, and whether residents further down the line are going to see an increase that they won't be expecting. Thank you.
So one of the things I'm proud about in Merton, that we pay the London living wage to our carers and our care staff. The London living wage is built into the direct payments. So that is all in there. National insurance, all of it, holiday pay is all built into the rate for direct payments. Terry, anything you'd like to add to that one?
No, I think you've covered it, but just to say the rates increase each year. So we've had some data recently around the London living wage. The budget will come next week, which will give us some further information around NICs and stuff like that. And then the changes in the rates will be set for 2026, 2027. So it's included.
And we pay our carers well.
See an increase. So just to confirm, residents will see an increase in their charges. Is that right?
The direct payment rate will increase in 25, 26. Yeah.
That's the direct payment rate. I'm not sure what you mean, Councillor Gold, about charges. This is about direct payments, giving people the money to buy their own care packages. Those rates increase every year, and I've got to say that Merton pays our carers very well. We're above the London average for what we pay our care workers and our direct payments.
Thank you.
Thank you for your report. I would like to know if the current changes within the ICB are affecting our budget, and as well, how often are contracts reviewed to fit purpose and meet the demand, the financial demand?
So those are really good questions. I'll answer the first one, and then I can go to Terry for the second one, if that's okay. So the challenges faced by our colleagues at South West London ICB are well documented. They have really extensive savings to make on top of their 58% staff reductions. So the challenges are huge. We are very, very aware of the impact that could have on adult social care and public health, and we monitor this vigorously. We monitor everything that they're doing, we liaise with them, and we work with them. We are having discussions with them about their commissioning intentions and aligning with us so that we don't work against each other, that we work closer together. All of the proposals that I've presented, you've heard me saying it a lot, working closer with the NHS. It isn't about them being able to shunt money onto us, even though we're very mindful that that could happen, but we monitor it very, very, very carefully. And it is something that is constantly on my department and team's mind. Terry, would you like to answer the second part or add to that one as well, maybe?
Yeah, I can answer the second part. So I think it's about how do we manage contracts and make sure that we're getting value out to them. So all of our contracts or services have clear contracts and service specifications with performance indicators within those. We have a team of contract managers and commissioners that undertake regular contract management meetings with our providers. We also undertake quality assurance visits, and we use that data along with data from our residents on what they're telling our frontline social care workers to triangulate to get an understanding of how that service is performing, as well as drawing in data from relevant partners. So looking at things, if we're thinking about care homes, how many people are being conveyed to hospital, why are they not dealing with some of those things within the care home themselves. In addition, we also have monthly scrutiny, external scrutiny within the council. So we have a monthly directorate procurement group whereby at each one we review a particular cohort of contracts, and colleagues from across the council challenge us in adult social care around the performance of those.
Brenda.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you very much, John. You seems to be doing what you normally do well with your team. Now, I'd just like to ask you, How has inflation impacted adult social care services this year? Did you get that?
Well, Terry, do you want to answer that one? Would that be okay for you for this year? And if needs be, I can speak about the previous years.
So obviously there are some big increases this year. The council in adult social care did really well in our discussions with our providers around the inflation that was going to be provided with them. Across the board, we spent around £1.4 million on inflation across the adult social care budget. So when you take that into account on a £60 million spend, good number compared to other places.
And that is a lot lower than previous years, because 2 years ago we were when inflation was at its highest, we were having 8.5%. 1 year was 8.6%, and that had a huge impact on the department's budget.
So just a very quick question following up on the direct payments, because I suddenly realised, so you're paying £22 for an hour?
Per
Is that for an
hour.
hour of care? Okay, so how is that benchmarked to be an hour's care? Because I'm pretty certain like the average rates of hourly care are like in London 30 something pounds. Unless are you saying that you have access to a bank of specialised care people that they can access at these cheaper rates? Because I can't find those rates in the market. Like I provide care myself. I can't find them. So at £22 an hour, they're more like 30 something pound an hour. So I'm just keen just to make sure, is there a gap that people have to fill with that direct payment?
Terry, do you want to answer that one to your area?
So people can use a direct payment a number of ways. So they may not be going to an agency to commission their care. So they may be using what we will call or term a personal advisor, someone who is self-employed, and the costs are usually much lower than if they are using an agency. So it's different types and different ways of employment that people do.
And Councillor Cox, with our home care rates, Terry might have the details, but we're amongst the highest for South West London for our home care rate. It's about £26-27 an hour that we pay our care workers. That's amongst the highest in London.
You're paying £22 an hour to somebody, like yourself or something, to go out and find someone. And that actually, unless you happen to know someone that you happen to trust, you're saying people, they've got to go find somebody that who's not through an agency, who happens to be good and you don't know, to put your father or your mother in care with. And I'm just saying that's extremely difficult for people to find. So I just wanted to highlight that actually if people go to a trusted agency, the reason you pay an agency is because it's trusted, but those rates are higher. So there is a gap that people might have to pay.
We do have about 350 people currently who receive a direct payment in adult social care. That numbers are growing because people really like the flexibility and the control it gives them over their care package. We provide a lot of support to those that don't have family to help them if they want the direct payment, but the numbers are growing year on year of people who want direct payments from us. That's compared to about 700 or 1,200 people per year as the year goes on who has a care package from us. Does that answer the?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Sherry.
Could you just explain a bit more, some more details on how direct payments will make that saving?
It's in the cost differential from the rate. So we pay about between £26-27 an hour. The direct payment rate is about £22 to £23 an hour. So there's a cost differential within that. And it's important to also say the outcomes. If people that are surveyed prefer having the direct payments, they have better control over their lives, and they have much more satisfaction with the care that's provided to them.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? No. Okay, then. Stephen, would you like to say anything else?
No, I would just want to thank everyone for their participation, for their questions. I wanted to thank John in particular and his team, efficient, proficient, professional, subscription-based. They have their organizations they look to, and I just wanted to thank them. These are tough times. I wanted to thank the cabinet member for working so well with the team based on mutual respect in a partnership way, and thank all councillors here from all parties for their participation. I've been making notes. With these notes, I will have a discussion with John as well, and with my co-ward councillor, but cabinet member as well, any issues raised. Thank you.
No, thank you for your time in engaging.
I'll ask John after you.
Well, just at the risk of repeating myself, we are very fortunate to have the team that we've got, and their track record is consistently delivering what's been required. And coming back to Eleanor's point earlier on, we've got the safeguarding report coming up. I'm on the safeguarding board. Safeguarding is everybody's responsibility, but it's taken very seriously within the department. And I think you'll hear from Aileen, and we heard from the CQC how impressive our safeguarding is. So I know it sounds occasionally like sorcery. That's what I was thinking, Tony was thinking, but it's because we've got such an experienced team who know what they're doing and deliver year after year.
Any last words? John?
Nothing's from me, Chair.
Right.
Thank you for the questions. They were really good questions and made me think.
Thank you, Terry. Nothing. Thank you all very much. Thank you for the report. And thank you for answering all these questions. Thank you. Those who want to go, you're free to go. The speed they're going, I can't believe it. Right. The annual safeguarding report. Over to you, Lily. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Chair. So this evening, I want to present to you the annual report for 24-25 for the Adult Safeguarding Board. This was year one of our new 3-year plan. And what I would say is that I really welcomed actually some very strong partnership working across the board, both at kind of community level, but also at a very senior level across organisations. And I say that in the context of what you've been talking about this evening, because I think we very much recognise in our safeguarding role and the role of the board is that we are currently working in an environment where things are changing very rapidly across all of our kind of partner organisations, and that our organisations really need to work together because of some of the things you've been talking about this evening in terms of the financial constraints that they're faced with, some of the organisational changes that they're facing, some of the ways in which they need to kind of reorganise in order to work effectively. Our job in terms of the Safeguarding Board is to ensure that when decisions are taken in the way that you've been discussing this evening, that we maintain people's safety, that we keep people free from harm and from abuse. And so our role is very much to make sure that the partnership working is strong, that it's transparent, and that it works effectively. And so what I've been very pleased about in the year 24-25 is that I hope you will see in the report some examples of strong partnership working. So we decided to retain our 4 principles that we had previously worked to, and that was after quite a lot of discussion and reflection, but we maintained them because we thought those priorities are still the same priorities for safeguarding. They haven't gone away. Each year you have a particular focus. Each year there are new issues that arise, but the overall priorities, I think, remain the same. And those are working in terms of prevention and early intervention. And what I would say about that is that it's incredibly important, actually, that we work with look at kind of complex cases, look at some of the cases that we now deal with that I think were not as complicated 5 years ago. There is a kind of environment in which people are working across agencies with some very, very difficult kind of situations. And our role is to try to identify how we can intervene earlier and help people to intervene earlier so that we can actually have more preventative work. And what I hope you will see in the report are some examples, both from individual organisations, but also from the work of the board as a whole. And we have a kind of similar approach too in terms of building kind of strong communities, working out there to try and get the message, as Councillor McCabe said earlier, that safeguarding is everybody's responsibility. We need to make sure that it's understood across all kind of diverse communities across Merton. And that we engage those communities and that they know what safeguarding is, what they are concerned about, and they also know what to do about it. So it's very important that we do that kind of strong community building, as well as the work that we do across organisations. We also always have the priority of making safeguarding personal, both in terms of making sure that people actually have the outcomes that they want to see when they feel they have been subjected to some kind of abuse or harm. And you will see some examples of that in the report. But also, in terms of making safeguarding personal, it's also about recognising the diversity of the communities that organisations are working with and understanding how their views, their thoughts, their reflections are also kind of taken on board in terms of the safeguarding work that's undertaken. And then lastly, there is a section in the report that brings together the data and that brings together the learning that took place during the year, the kind of examples of training that took place, but learning that has come from safeguarding reviews. Because what's so important is that we have an ongoing assurance programme for the board, but that we also make sure that safeguarding training covers all kind of aspects of safeguarding and covers all organisations and is out there in the community as well as across the key partner organisations. Overall, the number of safeguarding concerns has gone up, but so have the number of referrals into adult social care and into health as well. So in a way, you would expect that. So I don't have a concern about that. But you will see in the kind of data section some of the kind of breakdown in terms of where concerns come from and how we are responding to them. So I won't say more than that, Chair, but just to say I'm very, very happy to answer any questions or to take any comments that you have.
Jennifer.
Thank you very much. Question on the Merton care homes, but more in respect of the number of residents who are in care homes out of the borough. Do we know what the percentage of residents are in care homes out of the borough? And is the council still responsible for the safeguarding of those residents?
The answer to the end of that question, Councillor, is that yes, they are. And we make sure that in terms of the assurance that we have, and certainly I think almost 2 weeks after Terry was appointed, we actually asked him to come to the board and talk about the assurance programme that he was going to put in place, so that we made sure that we've actually got ongoing assurance about practice in care homes, what's happening in care homes, that we're constantly looking to make sure that everything is safe within the borough, but that also we need to hear about the arrangements that are in place for those who are placed outside of the borough. And depending on the circumstances of somebody placed outside the borough, the local authority may well have relationships with other boroughs. They may be doing kind of joint working with them. It might be quite individual depending on the circumstances, but also so it's not just the local authority, it's health partners too. And it's very important that we make sure that residents outside of the borough, whether they're placed in care homes or also in accommodation as well.
Sorry, can I just continue on that point?
Yeah,
So
sure.
do we know
You asked me about the percentage. I don't know
no,
that.
not the percentage. I was just wondering, those residents who are outside the borough, do we know the CQC ratings of those care homes that those residents are in?
Terry, do you want to?
Yes, we do know the ratings of them. So as you would expect, all the information is held in our case management system, and we have a number of reports around the quality of care based on the CQC ratings for care homes that are both in borough and where we have placed individuals as well. Off the top of my head, I can't give you that figure, but I'm more than happy to send that to you tomorrow.
So I'm just a little bit concerned at how the safeguarding takes place for those residents who are
I can answer that one, Councillor Cole, if you'd like. So just to be clear, that adult social care only place people in homes that are rated by the CQC as good or above. If there is a home that falls below that, we will work with the local authority to monitor that. We may take the decision to move from that home, but we'll work with that local authority where they're placed. So to be clear around the Care Act, there are 38 care homes in the London Borough of Merton. The London Borough of Merton are responsible for the safeguarding the Care Act processes for the people in those homes. If Wandsworth, Croydon, Sutton, etc. place someone in those homes, the safeguarding alert would come to this local authority. We would initiate the safeguarding and link immediately with that local authority and work hand in hand with that local authority. That happens everywhere else. If a Merton resident is placed in Wandsworth or any other local authority in England, that local authority would contact us as the placing local authority. They lead the statutory, well, you would decide who would lead, but they would be responsible, but you would work hand in hand with that local authority. So it's exactly the same. If a Wandsworth resident is placed here, we will undertake the safeguarding, we'll work with that local authority, hand in hand with Wandsworth. They will do the same with us. It's very clearly set out in the Care Act how this works. Anything you'd like to add to that, Aileen?
No, I don't think so. I think I think that hopefully that's clear.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a bit more about these. I don't really understand these charts, to be honest. These safeguarding abuse types. So is this all of the types of safeguarding? Because that get referred. Sorry, so these are pages 31, 32 and 31, I think it is. Oh no, 32 and 33. Yeah, so I don't really understand what the difference is between them. And the majority seem to be neglect and acts of omission. So what, I mean, that is, I think, I presume to be the most common anyway. But what are we doing? Like, how are we going to reduce that? I'm not really clear on it.
So this is the data of the most common forms, and as you rightly say, Councillor, it is the kind of category. Most kind of harm and abuse takes place in people's homes, and most fall into particular categories that we have there, so that you know what is going to be where you've got the kind of most concerns. That's where you put your priority in terms of making sure that you're getting reports back, that you're getting auto insurance back. And of course, what we have now is a much improved system, I think, both within our health colleagues and also in the local authority, of as concerns come in, that they don't necessarily lead to a full inquiry, but there's a very full kind of undertaking of what has taken place, what needs to happen, whether there needs to be any kind of further action to make sure that that isn't just left. So that there is a lot of kind of work both in the individual organisations, but in the kind of board's programme as a whole, to ensure that we look to take those numbers down.
Worth adding that it's a cumulative process as well. So if there's individual concerns within a home and then there's more than one concern, then we share that information. They can then respond to that information because it may indicate that the home has a particular problem which is affecting more than just one resident and is therefore requires improvement in certain ways. So we don't lose sight of. We obviously have a focus on the individual, but we also have a focus on how many other times have we heard of concerns in that particular home or that particular environment or with that care provider, etc. So that we have that intelligence to be able to make informed decisions about the level of risk that are posed in any setting.
Let me ask a question on the same line. You were saying that the safeguarding has gone up, but also situations that sort of different and they're more complex. What sort of complex situations do you have that you have the worry of? Well, you said you didn't worry about it because you know what you're doing basically. But what is the situations that become more complex, and how are we managing them?
I think the complexity actually comes from the demographics of people living much longer and living usually with sort of multiple health issues, perhaps kind of multiple kind of social issues. So there might be people who've got quite intense mental health issues as well as kind of physical. They may also be living in a situation that isn't suitable for them, and they're seeking kind of alternative accommodation. So there could be housing kind of issues. So I think there's a complexity in terms of the multiplicity that of kind of the concerns that come together at the same time, and it's really about trying to understand those cases. And sometimes they can feel quite difficult to face. So if you look at something like self-neglect, for example, or hoarding, which are very common in the safeguarding world, if we don't get underneath them to try and look at what are the factors that seem to be happening here that make these situations develop, and how can we understand them better, and how can we begin to recognise them earlier so that we can actually help people at an earlier stage. And it's about trying to understand those patterns and those developments rather than waiting until something has reached a kind of crisis point. So that's the work that we're trying to do. That's the kind of complexity that I think that we're trying to face. And what we're putting in place, I think, are a number of new systems and ways of working and looking at the kind of data and partners working together to come up with a multi-agency response. And hoarding is a very good example of that.
Just to also come in on that, and just to say that, as Aileen said, the situations and the complexity of people coming to our front door are much more intense than what we've seen before. And it's really about enabling our staff and really looking at our case file audits and our case file reviews to really learn about what's happening in the community and really get under those underlying problems so we can work with our residents in the community much more effectively to give better outcomes to those. We're constantly doing audit reviews, we're constantly doing case reviews, we're constantly looking at our serious case reviews so we can learn more about what's coming to our front door, about what the experiences are of our residents, to make sure that we're able to protect them more, to be able to give them the whether it be a housing situation, whether it be underlying issues with the cost of living or mental health problems or anything like that. There's so many complexities to what regards as on the surface of a safeguarding and hoarding that it's really complex, and we need to, we're enabling our staff to be able to really do that professional curiosity, to do that digging, to find out more so we can embed and encourage and make best outcomes for our residents.
Yes, sorry. I mean, this is an area that I wish I knew more about, but I've really appreciated having this report and getting to learn a bit more about it. I mean, as councillors, we go around meeting residents, and there are many occasions when I've knocked on a door, they've opened the door, and I've thought, "Ooh, that doesn't look good." And I've not known particularly what to do about it. I'm presuming that most of your intelligence comes from neighbours, but I'd be interested to get a response to that. But my second area is I'm really picking up this learning thing that you're doing. Very impressed with what you're doing about learning, particularly from the safeguarding adult reviews. Though the report doesn't say what are you doing differently as a result of those reviews. So I'd be interested in a comment on that as well. Thank you.
The referrals actually come from a wide range of residents, elected members, other organisations, the police, for example, make a lot of referrals. But what we're trying to do is to widen the ways in which people can become aware of how do you make a referral, and what is it that you might see, perhaps in a council surgery, or as you say, knocking on a door or what have you, that makes you think, oh, is there something about this doesn't feel quite right. Very often, there might be a whole number of reasons why a referral is made, and nothing might come of it. We might look at it and decide this doesn't need to go any further. But what is important is we want people to be alert. We want people to make referrals. We want people to be concerned. We want people to understand what safeguarding is. I've always said at these meetings that I think people understand children's safeguarding much more than they understand adults. That often older people or kind of adults who are vulnerable are kind of hidden away, and people don't think about it in the same way as as we think about kind of children's safety. And that's really important that we get the message out there across community organisations. So actually, the people who knock on people's doors are really important to us. And in terms of the outcomes, so what we're trying to do is the training that we put into place that comes out of reviews where we know that we need to do more. Okay, we need to, or the specific groups of staff that we need to train. That's one aspect. One of the things that I think one of the outcomes has been that we have moved much more to what Claire was just talking about in terms of people reflecting on their practice and talking about their practice and talking across agencies. And then people say, oh, you know what? I think perhaps we don't organise this in the right kind of way. So actually an outcome might be a change organisationally about how referrals are made, or talking to GPs about, well, actually, it would be much more helpful if you could do it in this way, or them saying to us, as a board, can you help us with X, Y, and Z? So you begin to get change of practice in that way, as well as the kind of learning, that we described. But I'll think about that for the next kind of report that we do on learning, to make sure that it's got some of those outcomes in there.
Thanks very much. I'm from a health background, mental health as well, and we know each other from different, so I was just wondering about, you've just covered some of it, but not as deep as I would like. So how often do staff get training on safeguarding, and also mental health issues to look out for?
The training programme is ongoing because obviously you get new staff in every organisation all the time, and safeguarding training is mandatory. And so it's a constant programme. What we need to make sure is it still the right kind of programme? Are we picking up on new issues? And so, for example, as we move toward more neighbourhood working and closer relationships with health, and supporting more people in the community, then we need to think about, well, have we got the right kind of mental health training? Are we, is there something that we need to change about that? And we would talk to our mental health partners, as well as the kind of those people who provide the training for us, to try and constantly look at how do we update the training, how do we make it really, really relevant? And how do we make sure that it's kind of multi-agency? So, for example, it's really important that the police and mental health workers are working together. And that there is, even if they don't do joint training, that the kind of training talks to one another in terms of their understanding of mental health and how mental health referrals are dealt with.
Just to say that, as Aileen said, it is statutory and it is mandatory, and we make sure that our staff do it every 3. They have to do it within the 3 years. So it's not just about the training courses though. We're constantly talking about safeguarding. Safeguarding is everybody's business. We talk about our safeguarding adults review at both of our staff conferences that we hold twice a year, that we talk about safeguarding, we talk about learning. We do 7-minute briefings in team meetings. So we are very much aware of the safeguarding and the learning from safeguarding, and we make sure it's at the top of the agenda in every team meeting that we go to. So it's really at the top there, so we can learn from it, and it's everybody's business. So just to give that assurance as well.
John, did you want to say something?
No, apologies, Chair. My hand went up by mistake.
It's not a question or anything. It's just a comment on Tony's questions. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure we've got councillor safeguarding training online. And it covers exactly what you've been asking for. So we're able to spot the issues or neglect or anything else. So I would go to a learning centre and have a look.
Very much. Anybody else with any questions? Oh, Peter.
Just to say that one of the things that we've done is we've recruited safeguarding champions within the community, who are people that can become extra eyes and ears, and we've given them training in terms of what to look for and how to act on it, and I think, and it's, we've directed it towards some of the harder to reach groups and try to make sure that we can get this data and intelligence from all quarters. And if you want to become a safeguarding champion, Tony, then you could put that. Sign up to. Excellent.
Very pleased to hear that.
The other thing that I wanted to say is in respect of Aileen, I've been sitting there praising our adult social care team. It would be remiss of me not to draw attention to the fact that we have in Aileen a highly experienced social care professional who draws on that experience, and we are really fortunate to have her as our independent chair, and I've been immensely impressed since I've been working with her, because as they say in my part of South London, she knows her onions.
So, yes, I was going to say thank you very much for the thorough report. Look forward to it next year with the improvement of what wonderful things you've done. But thank you very much. It's been a very interesting meeting.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you very much for considering the report this evening. It's really very helpful.
So we've all agreed with the report? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
John, are you kicking this off, or did you want me to?
Oh,
I think he wants you to.
oh, please, you Terry, and then Russell.
Great, thank you, Chair. So we've now got the annual performance report for adult social care and public health. Members will be aware from the conversation we've had tonight around the vital role that adult social care and public health plays in supporting some of our most vulnerable residents. Older people, adults with disabilities and unpaid carers, helping them to live safe, independent and fulfilling lives. This annual performance report provides an overview of how adult social care and public health services in Merton have supported residents throughout the financial year 24-25. It draws on national and local data sets, including our statutory returns, and it aims to bring performance data to life through real stories of residents at key points along their journey. These examples highlight the dedication and compassion of our frontline teams, from social workers to day centre staff and our commissioned providers. For adult social care, the report focuses on 3 key areas. So our front door activities, our assessment and long-term support, and our annual reviews. Across the board, the council is supporting more people. We talked about it earlier on around demand for adult social care continuing to rise, driven by an ageing population, more residents living longer with complex conditions such as dementia, frailty, and hospital discharge pressures. And these factors increase the need for both care and wellbeing interventions. Just a few highlights from the report. So the number of contacts to adult social care last year rose by 7.7%, with the majority of those coming from the community. Our hospital discharge team continues to see significant increases. Support for unpaid carers, the backbone of adult social care, have been strengthened with significant work to identify and support residents, which has led to an increase of over 100% in our carers' assessments being completed to ensure the recognition and tailored support they rightly deserve. Promoting independence remains a priority for us. Our reablement team achieved excellent outcomes, with 84% of people discharged from hospital not requiring ongoing care, outperforming many other local authorities. Our annual reviews have increased by 15%, ensuring residents receive the right support at the right time. While there's been a slight rise in residential placements last year, the council continues to meet its Better Care Fund targets, and these continue to be in line with national averages. And we've talked about it a lot earlier on under the saving item. Around 25% of our residents arranging their own care through direct payment. The report sets down in much more detail the achievements, and I'll now hand over to Russell, who's relocated himself to the corner for power, and we'll give a quick overview of the public health performance.
Thanks, Terry. Sorry, my computer died at the wrong time. Apologies to members. So the report for 24-25 contains an overview of the council public health roles, responsibilities, and summary of key performance metrics across public health, measures provide a service and user and population perspective to give an overview of the health of the population. They're not intended to be exhaustive of all metrics. There are many more that are picked up by boards like the Health and Wellbeing Board, Merton Health and Care Together Committee, etc. So the metrics look at key public health outcomes in a number of areas, including in our commissioned services. So just briefly, firstly, public health intelligence. Key outcome is to increase the number of web views for our JSNA, our Joint Strategic Needs Assessment. It underpins the health and wellbeing strategy and the shared actions to improve the health of the population. I'm very pleased to report a cumulative upward trend of to over 1,200 views as of September. This data set informs a number of our commissioned services in Public Health Council, as well as the NHS. The next metric is inequality in life expectancy at birth, which is a key outcome to reduce. A key outcome is to reduce the inequality. So that's a variation in life expectancy at birth. For example, in Merton, baby boys born in the most affluent areas of the borough live a predicted 8.3 years longer than boys born in the most disadvantaged areas.
and baby girls born in the most affluent area will live a predicted 4.6 years longer than girls born in the most disadvantaged areas. Our Start Strong work stream in the health and wellbeing strategy is a key priority, and I'll say a bit more on a later item on that. Next metric is the proportion of infants totally or partially breastfed at 6 to 8 weeks. Key outcome is to increase the prevalence of infants that are totally or partially breastfed. In Merton, I'm pleased to report these levels are much higher than England and continue to rise. The proportion of children having a health visitor at 2 to 2.5 year check. Public Health Commissions at what we call a 0 to 19 service. A key outcome is to maintain, increase the proportion of children who received a review. Monthly uptake for 25-26 is between 85 and 90%. This compares to 42% in 2022 to 23. So we're doing so well now that our learning is being used by OHID as an exemplar for London. This is a key metric for school readiness, which is a government priority. We'll also be sharing our learning at a CYP, Children and Young People's Merton Education Conference for Health Partners in March. Next one is around proportion of children overweight and obese in year 6. Key outcome is to close the gap between obesity rates in the most and least deprived wards. The gap has widened mainly due to the decline in proportion of children who are overweight in affluent populations. But unfortunately, there's been little change in our most deprived populations. And there's an error in the pack on page 237, which says no change in our least deprived populations. That's meant to say most deprived, so apologies for that. We've established a new Eat Well, Be Active strategic group to take action forward, targeting key wards, which include Ravensbury. Next one is around smoking prevalence in those who have long-term mental health conditions. Smoking is still the leading most preventable cause of illness and premature death. Merton has a smoking prevalence rate of 12.4% in adults aged 18 plus. A key outcome for local services is to close the gap between those that smoke in a general population and those who have a long-term mental health condition. And we are broadening the reach of community grants on offer to organisations supporting those with long-term mental ill health. Physical inactivity, the percentage of adults who are physically inactive is a priority, and that's defined as engaging in less than 30 minutes of physical activity per week. It's a leading risk factor for morbidity and mortality. 1 in 5 adults in Merton are physically inactive. This is lower than London and England. And my annual public health report for 26-27 is on physical inactivity, and we'll make a series of system recommendations to improve uptake. Substance misuse service treatment, increasing the number of people accessing specialist alcohol and other drug treatment is essential. Recent performance data shows that the number of people accessing treatment is increasing. I chair the mandated Tackling Drugs Together board with Chief Inspector Andy Storr of the Met Police, and we continue to deliver to the recommendations of my annual public health report to improve outcomes. GP LARC, so this is long-acting reversible contraception. This is a key outcome for improving women's health in Merton. And we're increasing the availability of LARC, that's implants and coils for women in Merton, particularly in settings such as GP practices, and making this available closer to home. Rates are currently lower than before the pandemic, and we are increasing access through the GP practices, with all practices given the opportunity to sign up. Estimated dementia diagnosis rate for those aged 65 and over. Early dementia diagnosis is important for a number of reasons, for planning for the future and access to treatment options. It helps explain why someone is having challenges and allows access to support and information. Diagnosis rates decrease slightly between 23 and 24, although they remain around the London average. We are developing a dementia action plan for 2026 to 2031, so 5-year plan, a plan to improve outcomes for those living with dementia. Finally, health protection oversight is an important function of public health in local authority. A key role as Director of Public Health in health protection is this oversight, working with partners across the system. For example, the UK Health Security Agency, who lead on the response to cases and outbreaks of infectious disease, and along with the NHS have the lead role in screening and vaccination. Our review of the health protection assurance framework is used to assess the quality of our processes in Merton. This ends this report, Chair. I'm happy to answer any questions. My colleagues, Helen and Barry, are online too for any detailed responses that are required. Thank you.
Questions? Brenda.
Thank you very much for what you just said. But I'm just wondering, my GP has no time for anyone. So time is, I don't know, they don't have the capacity. I'm actually on the PPG. And so I go there, we have discussions, and that's patient participation group. And people are being turned away, and we hear in the news as well as almost every day on my phone, that if you want to know anything, if you want to ask, go online. So how are they dealing with people who need treatment that you've said will go to the GP?
Thank you, Councillor Fraser. So in terms of GPs, it's particularly for LARC and for fitting. So we will have a contract with a GP practice to perform that. In terms of availability of GPs, I think that's something we could feed back to the ICB, who would have that kind of oversight. But we would commission via the GP practice in local authority.
Well, I just want to say that I don't want you guys to get complacent, but I think this is one of the best reports I've ever received in a scrutiny meeting. It's got numbers in it, it's got trends, it's got case studies. Can I suggest you have a word with George's?
Know about antenatal and postnatal. I think we were saying that the care is from how many months? What age to what age? Sorry, I'm looking at you and it's Russell. I know, it's Russell. How many months, how many months care do they get? Because I know that after postnatal, not everybody gets care. Not a lot of parents get care unless you're of a certain, you belong to a certain group, you don't earn that much, or, when you are of a certain wage, you don't get that extra care, postnatal care. 2 years, is it 2 years that you have to be checked? They don't get checked at the 2 years. 5 years, they don't get checked because they don't fit in the same category. Has that changed?
So our health visiting service, as part of our 0 to 5 service, has five mandated checks. So mothers and baby will be checked 5 times from the newborn baby check up until the preschool checks. So there's 5 checks over that period. So 5 touch points for the service that we commission.
Everybody that gets it though, sometimes, you know.
It's universal. So it should be open to every mother, irrespective of where they live.
And that must have changed, because I would say about three years ago, I knew a couple of ladies who had their children, and they didn't get it from the. It was a question of going either to your GP or to the midwives, and the GP would actually not do it. They said it's not their job; it's the midwife's job. So I want to know whether that's changed.
Perhaps, Chair, can I get the details of these examples after the meeting, and we can look into that. As I said, in terms of our 2 to 2.5 year check, the uptake is really increased up to 85-90% from 40, in the 40%. There may have been some sort of communication issues in 3 or 4 years ago, but we'd need to look into the specific example.
Because you said that since 2022, isn't it? That it's since then that it's gone.
We've been on a steady upward journey, yes.
I think it was before that there was no steady. I think there was loads of issues. The parents weren't being seen, and you had to be. I think you had to either not be earning a lot on universal credit, or it was it wasn't good, but that's what was happening.
Just say that I've got 4 of my grandchildren live in Merton, and they 4 within the age range of 0 to 5, and they've all been checked at regular intervals. In fact, the youngest one is 1 year old tomorrow, so we'll be celebrating. But I've been really impressed with the checks that have been done, and the thoroughness with which, they're not, they're living in different parts of the borough, and they're not part of any specific or special group. They're just kids that have been through the system and regularly checked. Thank God.
I said it's been improving since 2022. So I think before that there was loads of issues. Before 2020, I think during COVID time, there's quite a few issues with parents and having their children, and they've been told to go to the GP. The GP won't do 1980, and then they'll send them back to the health visitor who would do it. There was all sorts of things going on, but I'm glad to hear the things that we.
Chair, can I just say my colleague Helen, who oversees the team who commission this service, has her hand up.
Thank you very much. And you are right. There were some issues during COVID, and probably some misunderstandings between the different services. But for several years now, the trajectory has been really, really positive. And the health visiting service now not only offer universal checks to every single child at those different age points, but if they don't manage to see them, say at their 2.5 year check, they don't just forget about the fact that they've not seen that child yet. They will go back and still try and chase up that family, so that even if the child has reached 3, they will try and catch them so they get their developmental check, because it's so important to have checks at that young age so you can capture developmental issues and intervene as early as possible so they grow up as healthy and happy as they possibly can.
Happy to hear that. Thank you.
I just had a question about disparity in uptake. Is there a disparity in uptake of these checks? And is it via ethnic minority communities? Is it certain areas of the borough, if there are any disparities?
Helen, are you able to answer that? Because in terms of disparities, in terms of the health visiting programme, for example, if we take that, they do have a kind of universal plus offer where they would go over in terms of some situations where extra support is warranted. So they'd really lean it in to kind of mitigate some of those, particularly some of the issues to do with disadvantage. But in terms of uptake, Helen.
Yeah, thank you. That's right. The service actually looks to make sure that it's going to areas of disadvantage, for example. So I wouldn't say there's any consistent disparities in uptake happening, but what I would do is direct you towards a report that's going to the Children and Young People's Scrutiny next week, which is a very detailed report on that whole 0 to 19 service, including health visiting and those checks. And that's got a lot of detail in it that we can actually make sure you receive that report if you're not going to be at that scrutiny, if you'd like to have it.
Yes, please. No, we won't, but if you could send it to the rest of us, would be quite appreciative. Thank you.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Thank you very much for the report. As Tony said, it's very detailed. Just looking at the first one you mentioned, which is inequality, which was the overriding, sort of thesis of the whole, sort of pull it all together. I'm just wondering, because you didn't actually go into any detail, because we know that inequality is the biggest detriment to health. And obviously with the government cutbacks to funding to local authorities and the cost of living crisis and increase in child poverty, I'm just wondering how you is tackling the inequality issue.
Thank you, Councillor. I think the answer to that will come in the next item. It's largely through our new health and wellbeing strategy for 2030, which focuses on a Marmot approach to tackling inequalities. And I'll summarise that more in the next item.
Thoughts on the health and well-being. Is that you again, Ross?
Yes, it is, Chair. Yeah, thank you. So, so this item is the annual report of Merton Health and Wellbeing Board and covers business in 2024 and so far in 2025. The chair of the board, Councillor Peter McCabe, is our cabinet member. We report annually to this panel. My last report was in September 2024. The Health and Wellbeing Board is a statutory partnership board that provides the overall vision, oversight and direction for health and wellbeing. It was established here in Merton in 2013. Our business over the last 12 months aligns with statutory duties. I will pick up briefly on the innovative and cross-cutting work across the partnership. Some key highlights, and this list is by no means exhaustive, include the launch of the new strategy, making suicide everybody's business, the re-establishment of the local suicide prevention forum and action plan, healthy weight with details of the multi-agency group and plans for a new all ages action plan and approach, which is now underway in Eat Well Be Active, that looks at balancing food and activity, reports from adults and children safeguarding boards, and early insights into the development of an integrated strategy for child poverty. The board has a number of statutory duties, a couple as examples: joint strategic needs assessment, what we call Merton Story for 24-25 was brought to board in November 24 for consideration and was finalised in February 25. The report includes a demonstration of the contents and function of the supporting publicly available dashboards. Another example is pharmaceutical needs assessment. It's another statutory responsibility. The new PNA was completed in October, and pleased to report that no unmet needs were identified in Merton. The new strategy was approved by board in March. It focuses on reducing health inequalities and is underpinned by, as I previously said, a Marmot approach, and recognises that 80% of the factors that impact health and social are social and economic factors rather than just health and care services. The priorities of our strategy map back to the Marmot 8 principles, so the Health and Wellbeing Board can be confident that by taking action in these 5 areas, progress will be made towards improving health and wellbeing in Merton. And the 5 strategy priorities are: start strong, focus on prevention, strong communities, healthy places, joined up services. Each priority has a set of agreed year 1 actions. We are now well into the implementation phase, and the board is receiving updates on all year 1 actions in a rolling 12-month period, with each board focused on a separate priority. So far, the priority 1, start strong, inform business, in September, and priority 2, of which I'm the SRO for prevention, informed business in November. The next board meeting is in January. We've had the pre-planning meeting with Councillor McCabe on that. That's on strong communities. I have a few hard copies of the strategy here for any members who wish to take one. Thank you, Chair.
I wanted to mention something to Russell, because there is that every fortnight there's something called the Family Hub Services, and it's been throughout the borough, and it has everything on it. They call it lunch and learn, but you're not eating anything because we're online. And Charles Valler is the person who plans it, but with everybody. So we have antenatal care, we have social workers, we have them all over the place, so that parents, mother and father, whoever, can go to each of those places and find out all the things that you're talking about. So I was struggling, but I went and found it on the system. And so they get everything, they get told about what's needed. And it's for us, for the borough, so you should be able to go and join anyway. You don't have to sign up, you just pop in. But it's on the system.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Fraser. And yes, we link in, we'll work very closely with CLLF and the Children's Directorate here around Family Hubs programmes, and as an example, our health visiting service we commission with CLCH link in very closely, and are stationed in some of the family hubs.
Can I say whether Helen or Barry have got anything to say quickly before we go?
Nothing, thank you.
Nothing more, thank you.
Very keen. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Russell, for updating us for the health and wellbeing strategy. Very interesting. I like to have one of those so I can have a thorough read of it. So should we go to the work programme? Hello, everyone. Have you had a look at the work program? Hello. Have you had a look at the work program? We're looking at the work program. Are you all happy with it? Because we've got the budget to begin with, and then an annual public health report, annual health watch report, and St. Helier's update on the disrepair, and then mental health report. Okay, all good? Great, thank you. We're now finished, we can go home. Thank you, Chair. You're welcome. Thank you, John.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you
good
for the
night.
questions.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Helen. Bye. Bye. Bye, Andrew.